Okay guys, it's moment of truth. I've been waiting about a week now for a day when the weather was gonna warm up enough that I'd be able to get out here and check and see what was going on underneath the snow and see if all my root vegetables like my carrots and my beets and things like that that have the potential to have survived. The issue is if the ground freezes really hard, the crops will freeze really hard too, and then they turn to mush once the weather warms up. And you know, I could have pulled them frozen, but it's just easier to do it this way. So crossing my fingers that I actually can get some of the stuff and still eat it because I'm kicking myself that I didn't get it out of the ground. But the weather was quite cold. We did get like some -10, which, you know, there wasn't really enough snow to shelter it. It needed more than that. So fingers crossed. Let's go see what we got. This here is actually rather interesting. The center of this plant here was sheltered enough that it's not completely dead. These leaves are still good. You can kind of see here on this outer leaf the color changes when it's been frosted and damaged. But this stuff, you know, the tip has a little bit of that on there, but I'm really shocked that these Swiss chards seem to have survived. So that is a good sign for what I'm maybe gonna find in there for my beets and my carrots. Okay, so we got a spot here where, you know, the beets and the carrots, they're kind of sheltered underneath a little bit of a canopy of kale, and I'm interested to see what we're gonna find. I'm gonna do the beets first because those are easiest to get out. So it's a little bit hard to say what exactly is going on here. The soil around the beet is still pretty frozen, which is a bad sign for the root. But the plant has some stiffness. The greens seem like they haven't been completely killed, so I don't know if it's just that because the root hasn't finished defrosting, or, you know, if this actually did make it. So I'm probably going to take a handful of them, bring them inside, see when they warm up if they still are nice and firm. If they're mushy once they get to room temperature, then, you know, they've frozen, they've been damaged too much to salvage. Because the ground was still hard there, I'm not actually going to go after the carrots. I need them to actually soften up. They're not just sitting on the top. I'm going to have to dig them, and I'm not going to bother doing that into frozen ground. But I do have my turnips, so interested to see if those will have, you know, done anything to survive. So check it out now. So these are kind of looking like what the beets looked like. The greens are, you know, nice and alive, which is good because the turnip greens are really tasty, and I like cooking with them almost as much as the root. So there's still going to be a purpose to those, but yet again, it's hard to know what's going on with the root here, if it's been frozen or what. One thing that I'm definitely not worried about is my kale. This winter boar kale's pretty amazing, just how good it can survive in this kind of winter weather. And you know, this is gonna last all winter. It doesn't matter how cold we get here. It hasn't had a year yet that it hasn't been able to do well. So I'm excited. I have a lot of it in the garden, and it's doing quite well. And it was enjoying the little bit of cooler weather we were getting the last month and put on a lot of growth. So I should have something to eat all winter, at least with that, even if I can't salvage anything else here. This here's a pretty big shock. This is my arugula, and it looks like it's actually survived. the cold, and I'm gonna assume that's probably because it was under the snow. I really didn't think that I was gonna have anything still edible on there, so I'm excited because I'm making a pasta tonight that would be really good with some braised arugula greens in it. So yay! That's a victory for sure. So this carrot was kind of sitting up a little bit and feels like the soil's a little bit less frozen here, and I'm happy to say this looks like it probably survived too. So pretty exciting. It looks like I'm actually gonna be able to salvage a lot of my crops here. As gardeners, we kind of have to do our best to watch the weather and be flexible and, you know, kind of work with what Mother Nature gives you. This snow that we got here is super weird. This is not normal weather. I'm definitely not the only person who didn't anticipate for this happening. And I definitely wasn't prepared. I didn't have my garden set up to be able to survive seriously cold weather and snow and things like that. So I am pretty happy to see just how well it's done. You know, I've talked about it, and this is one of our first years putting real effort into doing a fall garden, and you know, I was pretty frustrated when this snow started and the cold weather, because it kind of felt like all that effort that I'd put in had been for nothing, but it looks like maybe it did pay off. So, you know, it's important to stay positive, important to do those experiments every year, because every year you learn. And this year I learned, watch the weather. If you can get polytunnels, actually put those up. Like, don't just, oh, I'll do it later. So the kids are napping, so I got an hour. Gotta get my hour in. There's some stuff that I need to harvest out of here that I'll actually be eating it tonight, so yay. Yay, I can harvest it, so happy. It's looking like it's gonna be a busy weekend in the garden. The warm weather is supposed to continue, and I'm not gonna make the mistake of giving the cold another chance. So I'm gonna be taking out those carrots, I'm gonna be taking out those beets. I have some space in the fridge, and they can kind of just live in there for the next month as I eat through them, and we'll put some effort to actually eat them. Not just let them rot in the ground out here. So I'm pretty happy today, you know. Yay, my weekend's going really well. How's your guys' weekend going? Let me know below in the comments. You know, I'd love to know if you guys did a fall garden at all, and how things are growing for you. I know on Instagram I see everyone over on the East Coast, and they're still getting really nice weather, while all of us West Coasters are getting slammed with all this crazy cold. But I'm only really jealous of Australia.